exercise with the metronome, we are going to be strumming through all 6 strings with quarter notes. So be sure to use your eyeballs. Be mindful of what your right hand is doing. The metronome is set up at 75 beats per minute with a bass drum on beat 1, snare on beat 2, bass drum on beat 3, and snare on beat 4. We are not using the hi-hat function because the hi-hat will define whether or not it's in straight time or swing time. And for now, you probably do not want to let the hi-hat tell you whether or not you would prefer to play in swing or straight time. Allow the beats between the quarter notes to exist within yourself and see how you respond to them. We're going to be counting on every beat. I will count to 4 and begin the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next exercise is going to be strumming quarter notes. We are going to count ourselves in, but we will not count along with the metronome. Keeping time with the drum machine, it is going to be set up at 75 beats per minute with a bass drum on beat 1, snare on beat 2, bass drum on beat 3, snare on beat 4. Again, I suggest that you do not use the hi-hat function unless you know that you want to try to play it with straight hi-hats or swung hi-hats. I would allow the beats between the quarter notes to exist within you so that you react to them in your own natural way. I will count to 4 and begin the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. In this first example of being creative with quarter notes, we're just gonna keep our down upstroke motion going. You can choose to hit at random if you'd like, or if you want to try to bring out your own specific rhythmic motives that you enjoy hearing, then that may be a good idea too. It's really up to you. The metronome is set up at 75 beats per minute with a bass drum on beat 1, snare on beat 2, bass drum on beat 3, snare on beat 4 with no hi-hat. That way we are not trying to interpret whether or not it's straight time or swing time. I will count to 4 and begin the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. I had fun doing that. I hope you have fun trying to do that on your own at home. Remember, being creative from within yourself is really what you're trying to do. You definitely want to steal some of my ideas if that's helpful for you, but you definitely also want to make sure that you spend time trying to generate your own sense of creativity and your own sense of fun with this aspect of strumming. With this next example of being creative, I'm going to be purposeful about using whole notes and half notes in the beginning to start a nice little arc when I start using quarter notes and upstrokes to finally die off again with my half notes and whole notes again. The concepts of whole notes and half notes and being creative with them and learning to strum them can be found in my whole note video that's here on the Halls of Music or my half note video that's found here on the Halls of Music. Be sure to check those out if you have not done so yet and want to learn more about being creative and learning how to strum those note values. The metronome is set up at 75 beats per minute with a bass drum on beat 1, snare on beat 2, bass on beat 3, snare on beat 4 with no hi-hat. I will count to 4 and begin the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. that example had a unique ending. It sort of built an arc and then fell off and then picked up just a little bit again right at there at the end to end it. So one big arc and one little small one right at there at the end. You can do this at home if you'd like as well. Being creative means that it's wide open, that you can choose to do pretty much whatever you want. The most important thing is honestly to be having fun and to be tapping into your musical feels and feelings and manifesting them through the instrument in a way that keeps you motivated and keeps you excited to play guitar on a day-to-day basis. It is very important for the guitar itself to emulate the drums. In this particular set of exercises, where we're strumming the bottom half of the guitar on beat 1 and the top half on beat 2, the bottom half on beat 3 and the top half on beat 4, we will be emulating the drums because the bass drum happens on beat 1, the snare drum, which is a higher pitched drum, happens on beat 2, the low pitched bass drum on beat 3, and the high-pitched snare drum on beat 4. So be sure to use your eyeballs. In this way, the guitar is emulating the drums for the rhythm section and for the rest of the band, so that the singer and the melodic instruments like other guitar players or violins or whatever can play along with the rhythm guitar and feel a really strong sense of how the music is dancing. It creates more of a variety for everyone in the band as well as the listener. So be sure to make sure that your bass notes are lining up with the bass drum and your high notes are lining up with the snare drum. Be sure to use your eyeballs. The metronome is set up at 75 beats per minute with a bass drum on beat 1, snare on beat 2, bass drum on beat 3, snare on beat 4 with no hi-hat, so we're not defining whether or not it is swing or straight time. I will count to 4 and begin the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. In this next exercise, we're going to be lining up the bottom end of the guitar with the bass drum and the high end of the guitar with the snare drum. Be sure to use your eyeballs. We are not going to be counting out loud with the metronome this time. The metronome is set up 75 beats per minute with a bass drum on beat 1, snare on beat 2, bass drum on beat 3, snare on beat 4, with no hi-hat so as not to discern whether or not we are feeling it straight time or swing time. I will count to 4 and begin the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. In this first example of being creative with the metronome, I'm going to use this constant strum pattern of bottom, top, the whole time. I may end up repeating some bottoms or some upstrokes on the top, just as a point of interest for myself, because that's what I hear happening in the moment. For the most part, I will keep this going the entire time. The metronome's at 75 beats per minute with a bass drum on beat 1, snare on beat 2, bass drum on beat 3, snare on beat 4, and there is no hi-hat so as not to discern whether or not we feel it as swing or straight time. I will count to 4 and give you the example of being creative with the metronome with this technique. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that exercise was a little bit off of the beaten path in terms of traditional rhythm guitar, but to me it worked musically. The rhythmic motifs seemed like they worked well together, and it told a little bit of a story. So I'm happy with that example, and I'm going to allow you to see it and experience it for yourself. I hope that you have fun finding your own sense of creative enjoyment with the guitar, the techniques, and using the metronome to build your confidence in your sense of consistency with rhythm guitar. In this last example of being creative with quarter notes in this video, I'm going to tie all of the techniques together that we've gone over in all of the videos that we've done so far. So if you have not checked out my whole note video, you need to do it. If you have not checked out my half note video, you need to do that. Make sure that you know how those things work and how they feel within you and how they create patience in your playing with your right hand. So I'll use whole notes, half notes, some down up strokes through all 6 strings, as well as some of the down on the bottom and down on the top to make a creative experience for myself and tell a wonderful story with a nice little arc throughout the entire thing. I will count to 4 and give the example. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I ended the song and the drummer kept going. Anyway, this example shows us that we can incorporate all kinds of techniques. I used half notes, I used whole notes, I used quarter notes with down up strokes, strumming on the bottom then the top. I used dynamics where I was loud and soft. It was really a lot of fun for me to create this, and hopefully will inspire you to be creative on your own and try out all of these different techniques, a combination of techniques. You can use them all, you can just use 2 or 3 at a time. It's really up to you and should provide you with a tool belt for learning how to play the guitar and experiencing rhythm guitar in your own unique way. Remember, the most important thing is to have fun and to enjoy what you're doing and to be motivated on a daily basis with your instrument. Bye. All right, so let's set up the metronome for this video. We're gonna go over here to the tools option and make sure that the tone setting is on 12. You can adjust that if needed. So let's go back over here to the center, and we wanna go down here to our 4/4 option or the time signature button, making sure that the time signature is indeed on 4/4. If you need to adjust that, you can very easily adjust it. You want to make sure that the quarter note symbol is the one that's pressed because we are not using any of the subdivisions or hi-hats. Go back to the center. We're going to set our time up at 75. So we're going to set it up with an external speaker so that it has a nice bold sound. You can see we have a bass drum on beat 1, snare on beat 2, bass 3, snare on 4. If you need to adjust those, you just have to push them like this and it will change. The snare is the bass drum is all 3 blocks. The snare is 2 blocks, bass drum 3 blocks, snare 2 blocks. And there you have it. You're set up and ready to go for the exercises in this video. If the exercises are going too fast, just slow it down. That's all you have to do. If you want to try to challenge yourself to go faster, you can easily speed up. All right, have a fantastic time with your guitar, learning how to play rhythm guitar consistently and with great time and being creative.